I don't know.
Welcome.
Stop moving on it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Avini Vibes. Today is September 19th, 2024. Time flies, doesn't it? Like we're getting ready for the last quarter, as I said last week. Hard to believe that September is going by fast and furiously. We are so blessed to be here tonight. I feel very blessed to be a part of Avini Health. Amazing company, amazing products, life-changing, and we're really I feel like we're selected to be here. So if you're a guest, welcome. You're going to learn that this community is filled of education, knowledge, wisdom, more importantly, support and love. It's a community that truly cares about you and about the people here and the people that you might know that are needing these wonderful, amazing products. So with that said, my name is Christine Rolando. I'm from New York, and I love horses. My passion is horses, and I love helping people. Been in this industry of health and wellness for goodness, probably 40 years now. So with that said, I wanted to take the opportunity to introduce you to Dr. Nekita Warren. She's going to share a little bit tonight. You're in for a treat because we have two other people that are going to speak tonight that we sometimes don't have things planned, but sometimes I reach out to people and say, would you come forward and just share? So we have Dr. David Cook in the house with us tonight, and we have Stephanie Cook in the house as well tonight. So they're going to share with you, and I'm just going to let us roll here. Dr. Nekita, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Our team, and welcome everybody. Dr. Nekita, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you. I'm so happy to be here tonight. One of the things I wanted to talk about today was Cell Defender. I've been with Avini for the last almost a year now, and I've been taking Cell Defender for almost a year. And I decided to do a little like a research thing for myself, and I stopped taking Cell Defender for like 2 weeks. Because I wanted to see, because when I started taking it, it was because of my mom. You know, she had such amazing benefits from it. So I decided to try to see what the difference was, because I've been taking it so long. So I did it for 2 weeks, no cold turkey and no Cell Defender. I still took other products, but not Cell Defender. I did notice a huge difference. And that had me to research a little bit more about what Cell Defender does and how it affects me and myself. One of the things that we know about while we're here is about toxins, toxins and heavy metals. And we, like, when I first was looking at it, why is it important? Why do I want to look at, toxins or heavy metals, and where do they come from? We get toxins and heavy metals from everything, from our foods, in our water, in the air, household chemicals, anything, gasoline, oil, skincare products, all that contains toxins and heavy metals. Some things work, some things doesn't. And every single person's body affects them differently. Toxins affects them differently. So one of the things that I wanted to do was figure out how this chemical, or how this zeolite works with the toxins. So with zeolite, it's a naturally occurring in nature. It's built over thousands of years from volcanic ash, salt water, a little bit of heat and pressure. And over this thousands of years, we come up with this amazing mineral. And what's so amazing about this mineral is that it scrubs toxins. And we see that from the volcanic ash. It protects us naturally, right? And as a doctor, I always feel that in nature, we'll always find something that protects us, from things that's going on around us. So one of the beautiful things about zeolite that I noticed with my 2-week detox is that my energy level was so down. It was down. It wasn't depleted, but I wasn't as energetic as normal. And I did a little bit more research to figure out why that was. What was the difference around having these toxins, or having the access of the Cell Defender in my body? What was the difference? And so what I noticed is that when in my research, 2 things happened. I got really good with listening to Rich Dykes, our scientific our head scientific medical officer, and he explained some beautiful things. One of the things he explained is how ATP works. Now, many people might not understand what ATP is. We know it's this little tiny molecule. We don't really know what it does, but we know it gives us energy. Um, you have everybody know what jacks are, right? You ever use jacks? You know, you shake jacks and throw them on the ground. You see them, right? So when you throw these jacks down, they're like these. They have like points on them, like six points on them, right? And so when you throw them down, sometimes they kind of clump together, and you love that because you can pick them up quick, right? And if you pick them up quick, you're happy because, oh my God, I got all these jacks at one time. I'm energized, right? So if you look at the jacks as ATP molecules like energy, if they are working properly, and magnesium is which a mineral in our body, if it's present, then we can pick up the jacks and run with them, and we're energized, and we can do it again. You want to play again, right? However, what's interesting is that if mercury, which is also, you know, a metal it can be in our body, because we can get this mercury from other things, from what we eat, in our environment, what we breathe. And if mercury is in our body circulating more than our magnesium, it would interfere with this energy. And how that would feel, how, if you can get a mental picture of it, it would be like if you threw the ball up to catch the jacks, and the ball hit something and fell out, and all of the jacks spread out, right? So if the mercury is present in our body, we can't pick up all of the pieces together, you know? So we can't have the energy and play again. So it's all separate. So I can't utilize the energy. I don't feel like I want to play again. You know, I want to go home, right? So that's one of the things that happens. Just to give you a visual picture of ATP. And then what's occurring in your body is that if mercury is present, I can't access that energy. I can't heal my body properly. I can't heal cuts properly. If I'm fighting a cold, I might feel more symptoms than normal. But if magnesium is present and I don't have that mercury or heavy metals in my system floating around, competing for my little spots for my magnesium, if I don't have that around, then I can access my magnesium. I can move things. I feel the energy. So that's one of the things I noticed, is that over the 2 weeks, I felt a little, cough in my tickling back of my throat more. I was tired going up the stairs. It was like little things. You know, they weren't drastic. It wasn't like life altering, but I just noticed my energy level wasn't as high as it normally was. And one of the things that I wanted to talk to you guys about was that having access to a product that we see in nature, right? But then having a company to be able to offer a product of such high caliber. You know, on my research, I've seen zeolite in other places. I've seen it on Amazon. I've seen it in so many different places. And when I did the research, those places offer zeolite, and, you know, different types of zeolite. But the process in which they utilize it is not clean. You know, because remember, we cut with this mineral is is taken from a place, you know, volcanic ash, which is dirty, right? And in order for us to clean it, Rick Dice had a patented micronization process, which cleans the zeolite, right? And when he did that, he created this huge opening in which we can utilize natural resources to clean our bodies. And it's such a small mineral that it can float around in our blood and clean up those little heavy metals or toxins, right? And just to give you if some people are here that don't actually know what zeolite does or what it looks like, it's almost like a flat honeycomb, you know, with little holes in it, right? And if it's flat and it has little holes in it, those holes are like pores, and, you know, and the heavy metals and toxins can be attracted to those little pores. Now, you might say, I have natural, you know, heavy metals or minerals in my body. So how does that work? How does it work? How does it filter out the good calcium from the mercury, you know, like that? Well, what it does is this. Because heavy metals in our lives, in our bodies, or in nature, they're a particular charge. This beautiful zeolite mineral attracts those negatively charged, those charged heavy metals. And because they're small and the structure of the zeolite, they kind of wedge inside a little crevice, right? And it's that's awesome because they can stick in that little crevice. And if a calcium, which is a much bigger molecule, if it comes through, it can't quite fit in that. It can be in there, but it can't fit. So when your blood is flowing, a calcium might fly off and a potassium might come on, right? But it'll keep circulating in your blood and keep going because it's not going to be stuck in your zeolite cage, right? But those heavy metals, they get wedged in there and they get stuck in there, which is good because our body doesn't recognize the zeolite as a toxin. It recognizes it as like dirt. So what our body does if it takes in a speck of dirt? It makes it goes to our urine or our feces. So it recognizes the heavy metal and moves it through because it's almost like it masks it. Like Halloween, it put a mask on, it can't see it. And that's the beautiful thing about it, right? And so one of the things I also wanted to say is that noticing the change in my life for 2 weeks, not taking a product and then taking it again, I was amazed. I went from having mental fog to being clear and my meetings, being able to, it was like I can see the difference in myself in speaking, in my energy level. My sister was like, wait a minute, is someone coming over? Why are you cleaning like this? Why are you cleaning up like this? And I was like, no one's coming over, but I realized it was 3 days that I was back on my regimen. And then the other thing is, it's really important to realize that we're taking Intoxin every single day. We're breathing, we're drinking, and it's not, you can't be scared of what your surroundings are, right? But to have a product to be able to help your body stay healthy, to be able to say, okay, I'll take this product to protect myself, to be able to cleanse myself so that my body can work better, so it can be effective in healing myself in running around and thinking and doing everything. So if I get a cut, it's going to heal faster. If I'm suffering from a disease or I'm suffering from something, I can take something that will clean the heavy toxins up or clean out that which I can't protect myself from, so that my body works at its best. Okay. And I love that aspect of it, Is there any questions so far about the zeolite or the ATP? I know I was trying not to use too many medical terms with talking about ATP, but I want you to get a visual of the energy, but also of understanding that to have access to something that you don't see before, you can't see it, but you can definitely feel the symptoms of it or the effect.
Well, I appreciate your illustration or your word picture of the jacks. It's been a long time since I played jacks, but that was really a good way to describe it. So that visual, thank you so much. Okay, so Dr. Nekita, thank you so much. That was a great presentation on the Cell Defender. And what we're going to do is don't go anywhere, okay? Because there might be questions that percolate. I have two other guests with us tonight, Dr. Cook and Stephanie Cook. Who wants to go first? Dr. Cook or Stephanie? Stephanie's pointing that way. Well, you know what? Stephanie Rogers on that side of you on the screen. So we'll let David go first. Dr. Cook, David's with us. Unmute, please. And we're kind of jealous because you got a beautiful background going on there in Utah and the beautiful mountains. Thank
Yeah, I'm up in Little Cottonwood
you for
Canyon,
being
up
here.
above
And
Salt
if you don't
Lake,
mind just sharing what's happening. It's beautiful.
right next to the Alta Ski Resort. Yeah, it's gorgeous. It looks so pristine, but at the same time, we know that there's natural things, including arsenic and lead that we get exposed to, just as Dr. Nekita was mentioning. As far as for myself, it asked me to describe my background. I graduated from med school in 2001, and since then, been practicing family medicine, pain management, and regenerative medicine. And it's been good in some ways. However, I think that made it a little bit more difficult for me to recognize and accept the benefits, particularly of the cell defender. But once I've read the research, I was convinced, and that opened my mind to some of the other products that have really been helpful. One in particular. So I've been taking the cardio care since it came out, and there were after I'd been on it a little while, I noticed that there were some days where I'd feel a little bit kind of lightheaded, and I'd check my blood pressure and it'd be a little bit too low. So I've ended up having to come off some of my blood pressure medicines, and we're going to be checking my cholesterol shortly. So I look forward to seeing that improve, and it would be really nice to get off with the atorvastatin, the cholesterol medicine that I'm on.
Are you using the fiber?
Yes, I am. And the trim science and the hydration.
Well, we're excited to hear more about that, your journey. How long have you been taking the Cell Defender?
So off and on since March of 23, pretty consistently for probably a year.
Great. And what about the fiber?
Also more consistently in the last couple of months, particularly instead of just maybe once a day, doing it before the bigger meals, 2 or even 3 times a day.
Wow.
Carol, excuse me, is the sound clear for you?
Yes.
Is everybody the sound clear for you?
Yeah.
So it might be me, right? It might be mine. That's
Yeah,
Okay,
you've
go
been
ahead.
you've been freezing a couple times.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay, so I'm gonna move over there, and you guys, Dr. Cook, if you would just continue, please.
Sure. One of the other things that I've really noticed a benefit from has been the Immunity mushrooms. I wasn't anticipating getting many benefits. I didn't think I had much wrong. However, I am generally somewhat introverted, and in more emotionally stressful situations, I tend to my main coping mechanism is kind of withdrawing, and that put some stress on my marriage to Stephanie. And I found that since taking the Immunity, I am able to stay more engaged. I don't fall in. I don't have to use that coping mechanism. I stay in the trenches, and maybe we can talk about it instead of me withdrawing.
Wow.
Wow, that's powerful. That's really powerful.
Can I ask a question?
Sure. You ask a question, Jane.
I'm very interested in the whole notion of regenerative medicine and how you understand the idea of regenerative medicine as it applies to Avini and to the vision that we're holding within this company for bringing health really to the world and taking more responsibility. So is that clear, that question?
Sure. Generally speaking, the regenerative medicine side of my practice was doing PRP, or platelet-rich plasma injections in the joints, tendons, ligaments. When I was doing more traditional pain management, there's 3 phases of managing pain. Either throw meds at them, and if that doesn't work well enough, do steroid injections, and if that doesn't work well enough, then you start burning nerves. And it wasn't fixing anything. and especially in the last couple of years, seeing more research about the damage that steroid injections cause really made me question what I was doing. And and so I started looking into some other things, and looked again into the platelet-rich plasma, and it's been exciting seeing people actually get better, improve, and feel better mobility, less pain with less drugs. But while I've been doing that, and when I've been seeing people for pain management, I start talking to them. First time I see them, I'm doing a history and physical exam, and they'll mention that they have pain somewhere, and so I'll pull out a little bit of plus relief, and we'll put that on and continue on with the rest of the history, and then toward the end, I'll ask them again how that pain is doing, and it's kind of fun to see how much their pain is improved by that.
That's lovely.
So I mean, they're not opposed. They can definitely work together.
Yes, beautiful. So, do you have other practitioners?
Yeah, go ahead, Jane. Did you
I
want to
just
add something?
wondered the Utah area, just in general, because I feel like this whole conversation, being broad so that more people can become aware through, because so many people are in chronic pain. Like, I don't know the stats on that, but it's off the Richter scale, and we're all aging now. The aging population is also insane, right? The numbers. So I'm just kind of curious about that network of just more holistic oriented MDs, because you do end up, I'm in an energy medicine program, Quantum University, and it's like you almost do have to stop the other stuff for a little while and figure out, where you're at with this, and then be able to incorporate that in more integratively. Is that the word? Integrative medicine, right? Is more like what I'm
That's
thinking.
an excellent way to describe it, because it is integrating the allopathic or the scientific side and the more natural side, both of which have definite strengths.
Absolutely. We need it all, but for us to be able to bring that into the conversation in a cooperative fashion and help people get educated. Yeah, not be afraid to ask those questions and look for people like you. Thank you.
Yeah, great question, Jane. Thank you. The PRP, I was looking into that recently. Well, I'd say recently, Craig's motorcycle accident was 1 year ago on Monday. So that was something that was brought to the forefront recently. So here in New York, I hadn't had the opportunity to know of anybody, but he is taking the Cell Defender, and he's doing the other products as well. I know I'm probably breaking up. So David, I'm going to let you finish up, and then we'll have Stephanie come forward. And I know that I might be freezing, so I'm going to go ahead and go off camera and move.
Right. But the only other product that I've really noticed a big benefit from has been the Trim Science. Been using it as a pre-workout. I like to swim a couple of times a week, and I would take the Trim Science before, and I found I could swim faster and farther, and which makes it more fun. And then right afterwards, taking the hydration, and then go home and before breakfast have the fiber.
Okay, got it.
Wow.
Stephanie.
Well, and David, do you want to share about the silver too?
Sure. Boy, I've been using the silver for quite a while. I was first exposed or convinced about the silver when I was driving some friends home from the airport. Their extended family had gone on a cruise, and I picked them up, and as we're loading their stuff in the back of this big van, I could hear them coughing and sneezing, and they all caught something on the cruise. So as I'm driving them home, I'm just trying not to breathe, and knowing that I'm getting exposed to whatever they brought back. And when you know it, the next morning I started to feel kind of a tickle in my throat, and I thought, oh boy, here it comes. And Stephanie suggested, well, you might try the silver. And I was like, okay, why not? So I did some 10 sprays in the morning. And when I got to work, the tickle was gone. It wasn't just reduced, it was gone. It wasn't there anymore. And I called Steph and said, this is pretty cool. That it made it go away. And she suggested doing it again just to make sure. And it didn't come back. And there's been a number of times where at the clinic where, especially in the wintertime, somebody would come coughing and sneezing and bring something in and often spread it to other people in the clinic. And as soon as they would start to have those sorts of symptoms, we'd have them spray the silver, and it would make it so they didn't get everybody else sick, but also were able to stay and work and feel better.
Wow.
Now, the interesting thing about that is I let him take my silver to work that day because I had one bottle of silver. And, I'm like, just take it with you. You'll take it again. And he's like, okay, whatever. He didn't believe me. And then when he comes home that night, I said, hey, where's my silver? And he goes, well, it's at work. And I said, but I need it. And he goes, well, I need it at work too. So you're going to have to buy another one. And so he was hooked, and he never did bring me back my bottle. So that was sad and exciting all at the same time.
I love it. Steph, why don't you come on board and just share how you had to get that bottle of silver back from him or get him to buy his own, and what's so special about these products for you personally?
Well, so my story has been very unique because I learned about the Cell Defender in a previous company, and immediately I took it to go and help my uncle who was in kidney failure. And we were able to get him out of kidney failure. I personally had beautiful blood work. According to the blood work, I had no problems with me. And so for me, I just started taking it preventatively because, you become a product of your product, right? Because if I can't tell anybody what it does for me if I don't take it. So I started taking it myself, just the Cell Defender in that previous company. And immediately I started noticing that I had less brain fog. Interestingly, even though on paper, my blood work is beautiful, I also have ADHD. I have dyslexia. I dealt with a whole lot of mood issues. And I also had a lot of suicidal thoughts. I had been dealing with suicidal thoughts since I was 12 years old. And but that doesn't show on blood work. So on blood work, I was beautiful. And so I didn't figure that these would do anything for me, but I started using them because that's, the way that they suggest. And fast forward about a year and a half when Avini started, I had PTSD, MLM PTSD from the previous company, and was not interested in doing this again. And my brother actually was like, come on, Steph, let's go do this. Let's keep our genealogy the same. Because I had, signed him up in the previous companies. Like, if you want to be above me, you're going to sign up today. So I reluctantly did it. But I was interested in the plus relief because one of the things that I also dealt with was a lot of chronic pain. I had been in a car accident in 2001 and another one in 2020 where I was rear-ended. The first one, I was a passenger. My mom said, hey, look, they're going to hit us. And so I did. I turned to look, which you should not do. And so that messed over my body pretty good. And then in 2020, I was teaching a daughter how to drive a stick shift, and she stalled the car, and the car behind us plowed into us. And so both cars were totaled. So I had a lot of issues from that. So I was interested in the plus relief and how that would go for me. And so I signed up with the biggest pack because that was the only one that I could get all the different kinds of plus relief in. And I immediately took the oral one up to my friend up the street because she dealt with migraines. And I wanted to be able to see what it would do for her. And then I started using the roll-on. The roll-on I still carry in my pocket. I always have it on me. And because, at the time I used it a lot on me. Well, the interesting thing is that I no longer use it on me very often, probably only once or twice a week, but I always carry it in my pocket because it's really fun when I see someone else that's limping or, complains about something hurting. I'm like, can I try something on you? And so, and that's really fun to watch because I don't really tell them anything about it. They usually will say yes. And so I'll put it on them and then we'll just continue on with our conversation. And all of a sudden, I'm like, so how's that doing? And they're like, oh, and it's just suddenly they start moving, whatever it was, or it's my favorite. But I actually met someone on the side of the road to give him some Girl Scout cookies. And I put it on him real quick because he was telling me that his back was hurting. Like we're literally on the side of the freeway. And he put it on him. We got in our cars. We went on our way. And 10 minutes later, he calls me and he's like, what did you put on me? Because my back that has, hurt since I was 12 years old doesn't hurt for the first time. What was that? And I'm like, it's Asian cobra venom. And so it's always my favorite, and then I explain more, obviously. But the Plus Relief was my very first, exciting product with Avini. Beyond the brain fog going away, I also enjoyed, better energy, better sleep, better just less sugar cravings, things like that from the Cell Defender. Those were things that I really noticed from that. Now, the interesting thing is in that time period, David and I got married, and David was not interested. He was very, not adamantly uninterested, but he was very clear that he was not interested. And so when my products came, I used the Plus Relief and I took the other one up to my friend, and the rest of them just stayed on the shelf and I did not use them. And I continued using the Cell Defender a little, but not like I was, because I didn't want that rift in my brand new marriage. And my dad suggested that we go to the Las Vegas Summit in March of 23. And we didn't happen to have anything going on that weekend. And strangely enough, David wasn't working on that Friday. And so we're like, let's take a drive. I love to drive. And so we went down there, and David sat and listened to Rick Deitch speak, and he listened to the other things. And it was amazing he was sitting there on his phone, and I was really frustrated with him because I'm like, why are we even here? This was your idea. And it turns out he was actually looking at research. And so he, as he went through these things, he actually found a study that was co-authored by Eric Deitch. And he goes, Steph, do you know who Eric Deitch is? And I'm like, I don't know. The guy on stage is Rick Deitch. Let's go ask him if he's related. Maybe it's a brother. So we go up, and David's like, who is Eric Deitch? And he goes, well, that's me. Rick is short for Eric. And that was, kind of exciting and to learn. And all of a sudden that just gave David a whole new excitement for what this was. And so, they asked questions, they spoke doctor, which is like way above my head, in those 15 syllable words that I don't use. And, and then, we went home and we did blood work so that we could see where we were starting. And then we started on products. Well, the cool thing for me was that 2 weeks later, the suicidal thoughts that I had fought for 32 years were gone. And they were gone. And I didn't tell my husband because nothing that we were taking, we're supposed to do that. And, all of the things were for immunity and for, heavy metals and for all of these things. And I couldn't imagine what was doing it. And I just kind of sat with that and was excited about the fact that they were gone, but didn't know how to deal with it. And it was actually about a month and a half later, I was talking to a friend, and she shared that her 12-year-old granddaughter had just attempted suicide and was in the hospital. And so I decided, I told her what was going on for me, which was the first person that I shared that with. And she's like, whatever you're taking, I need it, and I need it now. And so I laughed. I'm like, I'm taking everything. I don't know what's doing it. And she's like, well, I need it. I need it for her. And so I went home and I took myself off of everything. Just like, Dr. Nekita was talking about, And immediately everything came crashing back. Within about a day, everything that I was fighting came crashing back. And I slowly went on each product one by one because I wanted to see what was doing what. And what I learned was it was the immunity mushrooms that made that difference for me. And we've kind of talked with Rick a little bit, and his whole thing is well, that's what it's supposed to do, but I'm really excited it's doing that for you. And as long as I'm taking those immunity mushrooms, at least one in the morning and one at night, I don't have problems. If I'm on my period, then I have to take an extra one during that week in the morning, just so that my husband gets to keep his head, because otherwise I tend to, take that off a little bit. But anyway, for the most part, I only take one in the morning and one at night, and I still keep that. But if I go off of them for more than a couple of days, then those thoughts will start to creep back in, and I just immediately go grab my mushrooms, and then they go away, and it's really nice. The silver, like David talked about, has been amazing for us. We've had a lot of fun with that. I never did get my bottle back. I did have to buy more. But it's been fun when people are having itchy eyes, or, runny noses, or a tickle in their throat, or a sore on their body. We'll spray some of the silver on it. And it's so fun to see everything change and how quickly it does. I have a little girl that I cook with every other weekend that's allergic to cats. And we have 4 inside cats. And she will go and she will rub her face in those cats. And I just... she'll come to me and big red puffy eyes and Steph, help me. So we'll spray the silver in, and just within a few minutes that itch goes away, and it is so cool to watch that happen. And then the silver gel is one of my, I say it is one of my favorites, but realistically they're all my favorites. You have a hard time picking a favorite child. All the Zimmunity products are my favorite, and I tell people that all the time, because I love them all for their own reasons. The gel, anytime that you get a rash, my daughter uses it for the acne on her face, and the best thing that we've ever found. Anytime that you've got a rash, women, we have those undercarriage issues, and you put those on those, and the rash goes away pretty quick, and that's amazing. And so the silver gel I carry with me as well at all times. And it's interesting. I've been taking the Plus Mind and Vision since they started it in April, and we were at the summit, and they shared about it, and I immediately went and got it, because another one of the awesome things about me is that I had zero comprehension. I could read a sentence and have no idea what I read by the end of the sentence, and to read a book was just agonizing, especially to read a book out loud. And taking notes was horrible. Like, school and I were not friends. I wanted to be a teacher at one point, but then I realized you had to spend every day in school the rest of your life, and I decided that was not what I wanted to do. But in taking the Plus Mind and Vision, as we took notes at the summit, we actually, the first day, if you look at my notes, I'll get 2 or 3 words down in a sentence, and then I don't have any of the rest of the sentence, because by then the thought is gone. And I took the dose on Friday, and then I took another one on Saturday, and by Saturday my notes are full complete sentences, because I could write down the entire thought before I went back to get another one and write down the next thought. And that was huge for me. And then David and I were on a trip in May, and he'd brought a book along, and he's like, I want you to read this with me. And I just rolled my eyes, because that's not going to do any good for me, but I'll read it for him, whatever. So I did. I read this book out loud for him, and at the end of it, I still remembered what it was about. It was about Viktor Frankl and future vision, and being in the concentration camps, and how he got through it. And even now I still remember that. Also, I had a really hard time with names. Someone would introduce themselves to me, and that name would be gone in seconds. I'd have to have them remind me multiple times and see it on their name tag for me to have any comprehension of names. But in June, I went on a trip with my uncle and I met this amazing guy in Reno named Daniel and his wife Anne, and a couple people in a restaurant we talked to, Colleen and Tina the Beautiful. And, it's been fun to remember names because that was something I couldn't do before. And so the plus mind and vision has been huge for me. With that, I take 3 in the morning, and right now I'm actually taking 2 at night. David takes 3 in the morning and 1 at night, or no, he takes 2 in the morning, 2 at night. And so I take the other 2 from his dose so that we can, work through our 3-pack every month. But that's been a fun, that watching those changes has been huge and exciting, and having that memory and the recall has been amazing. I'm trying to think. I wrote a list of the products out so that I could check them off as I talked about them. With our pets, we started giving our pets the Cell Defender. And, like I said, we have 4 cats and we have a German Shepherd, and all of them lost weight. It was amazing because they were all kind of fat cats. And in our German Shepherd, I'd like to talk about how she's our biggest, fattest cat. And they all lost weight. They're all doing amazing. Their coats are cleaner, and they don't shed as much. And suddenly our cats became cuddly cats, which they were not before. And so that's been a really fun thing to watch. I actually will pull out my bottle and I'll shake it, and my one cat will come running, and she'll actually open the side of her mouth. She'll like, so that I can put it in her mouth. I don't even have to open it anymore. She'll just come up running. And then as I give it to the other one, she's like addicted to it. She wants to get more. She's like a couple more hits of it, and it just makes me giggle. And so that's been exciting to watch.
Cats, because
Yeah.
I use the silver on my cats because she gets these things over her eyes, so I've been using the silver, and she won't let me give her the drops, but I put it in her water and she drinks it that way. But you're right on point. I said to my husband recently, I said, Sophia's like so cuddly now, because she wasn't that way. And that's interesting point, because I've noticed that with her, and I didn't really make the correlation. But there's a question about nano silver, and I don't know, Stephanie, if you want to answer this, you want your husband or Chip to answer this, about colloidal silver. Afraid of silver because it makes your skin blue. But
so the fun thing is you remember that guy I told you about in Reno? His name was Daniel, and his wife Anne. The reason that I met him was because I was walking through and I stopped and I said, "Do you use colloidal silver?" And he goes, "I do. Why do you ask?" I said, "Well, because you're blue." And he goes, "Oh, well, yeah, it's because silver is so good for you, blah, blah, blah. It's because those particles are getting stuck in your cells." And I can let David or Chip speak to why that happens. But I actually got to meet Daniel, who was blue, because he used colloidal silver. And so it was fun to be able to share with him that we had other options that were available that wasn't going to get stuck and that would move throughout your body and move through your body without getting stuck. And that has to do with the do I get it right, guys? The silicate oxide covering. Thanks, Chip. I love the thumbs up.
Chip unmuted, so he's going to share a little bit, I think. Chip, do you want to jump in?
Well, I like it when Stephanie's on a roll here, and it's kind of cool because her husband and dad and brother are all here. And I remember meeting her before all this good stuff started happening, and she did love to drive. But as she headed off, after an event that we were at, I kind of felt danger for her, as she was going forward. And now all these wonderful things have happened, and I'm sure it's quite a relief for all the men that are on the call that are involved in her life with her. But yeah, no doubt. Here's how I say the silver thing. People know that silver will kill microbes, right? And so it's been used externally, or like pioneers would drop a piece of silver in their milk or their water to try to keep it fresher, that kind of thing. But to use it internally becomes tricky. And that blue color that Stephanie talked about isn't, considered to be dangerous, but it is permanent. Once you turn blue, you're blue. The condition is called argyria. So the mobility of the sugar, I'm sorry, of the silver is important. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, so that's too large. Colloidal silver, it's kind of undefined as far as how big it is, but most of it's going to be chunks that are big enough to get stuck in you. They don't move in and move out properly. They will turn human cells blue. Some people do it intentionally as a background for tattoo artistry. Believe it or not. I mean, it's going to happen. If you go to ionic silver, those are silver ions, single atoms of silver. That works outside and in as well, but it's too deadly. It's not selective. It'll kill your immune cells, your microbiome. The reason that Avini Nano Safe spherical silver is so important is that it moves quickly into your body. It selectively kills the things that you want killed and does not harm your immune system or your microbiome, and leaves in a day or less. So it's in and out properly. It needs to be mobile. Size, shape, and charge throughout this product line are really, really important. And certainly with the silver, we took a run at it early on. You guys, some of you that have been around for a while, remember we had the nano silver, but we couldn't hold the size, shape, and charge. And blessing to Doug Dickey, because he searched the world over, and what we found was, you remember black and white photography, the paper, when exposed to the chemicals, would create a picture, but you couldn't use that same paper to create another picture, right? It was permanent. That's basically the idea that stabilizes the Avini Nano Safe spherical silver in 200 atoms in a ball, which is how we want it. What we do is we have a coating of silver oxide tetrahedrons around each of the little balls of silver that keeps it from getting bigger or smaller. Colloidal too big, ionic too small, Avini Nano Safe spherical silver is the one to use inside your body. So that was my little summary at the end. Colloidal too big, ionic too small, that becomes too deadly. And so that Goldilocks size, shape, and charge is Avini Nano Safe spherical silver. And for purposes of biology and network marketing, Avini has exclusive access to that product worldwide.
Thank you, Chip. Thank you so much. So what I'm going to do is, Stephanie, give you back the floor for a couple minutes, and then we're going to go to Dr. Nekita, and we're going to go back to David, and just let's see if there's okay. So Stephanie, what else do you want to leave us with?
So basically, like I said, I'm using all the products. I've found fun things with each of the products. And I think the only other one that really shocked me was the Avini Plus Energy, because my whole life, anytime I used anything with caffeine, it puts me to sleep. And so I avoided that one immensely. I do a lot of driving. And in fact, like Howard always jokes about how he doesn't recognize me unless I'm sitting in my car. So I do a lot of driving, and sometimes long hours. And so I had it with me, but I was afraid to try it because I didn't want to go to sleep, right? And so one night I was driving, it was super late, like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was exhausted, and I thought, okay, I've got 3 more hours to home. I can either pull over and go to sleep, or I can try it. So either way, I'm going to go to sleep, so I may as well try it. And it was amazing. I took it, and it's like Chip always says, it's like turning the brights on. And so it helped me to be awake. It helped me to be aware. And even after all those hours of being awake, and it didn't put me to sleep. And I was able to get home. And then once I got home, I was easily able to go to sleep. So it didn't keep me up for hours, which was wonderful as well. So that's one of the things that I've noticed as I use the Plus Energy. I keep it in my car, and I don't use it very often, but when I do, I really only use about a quarter of the bottle. I don't use a lot of it. And so I'll use it over a few days, but I'll take about a quarter of the bottle and it'll keep me awake. And then if I've been driving long enough, I'll take another quarter of the bottle. But it's been amazing to see, even though regular caffeine will still put me to sleep. Like if I go get a soda or something that has caffeine in it, it does that. But with ours, because I'm guessing because it's natural caffeine, that it doesn't do that.
Interesting. Dr. Nekita, any comment before we part?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I know that a lot of times with the toxins and the buildup, we tend to we realize we have a lot of symptoms, right? But just don't forget about our unborn people. You know, the mothers that are pregnant and the unborn fetuses, they're exposed to so many things before they're even born. You know, the average newborn is like 200, they have 200 different industrial chemicals or pollutants in their blood when they're born. So just don't forget our, you know, our people that are pregnant, or anyone that is nursing, anything like that, because this is something that I think will be invaluable to them, to just get their child or themselves on the right path early. And then the other thing I wanted to close with is, don't forget about the doses recommendations. One thing that I learned in my research the last couple of weeks is that, yes, the first month we all get our, like, I guess it's our the recommended dosage for like the detox dose, and that's like 10 drops 4 times a day. And then after that, you can go to the maintenance dose, which is like 10 drops a day. However, after 6 to 12 months, it's always best to repeat the detox dose, just to make sure that you're cleaning everything out. So I just wanted to say, I didn't remember that, so I'm glad I'm gonna do that one myself.
You know, I want to share one more thing on that. So like I said, I started using the Cell Defender product with the previous company back in March of 21. And I used it a little off and on all that time. But it was interesting, last September, so 2023, September 2023, David and I decided that we were going to try for another child. We were going to add one more child to our family. And so he went and got a reversal of that situation. And so I started immediately taking the Cell Defender in large doses. Started taking the crisis dose, the Marcy dose of the Cell Defender, you know, a squirt of it every hour that I was awake. And it was interesting. Another thing that didn't show up on blood work was that I had intensely heavy menstruation. I bled 10 to 15 days every month. I'm sorry, 10 to 15 days every 21 days. And so I didn't bleed the same amount of time that most people did. And once I started taking that large dose of that, my menstruation actually evened out. And so in October, I had an 8-day. And in November, I had a 7-day. In December, I had a 6-day. And then in January, I actually got pregnant. And then I actually had a miscarriage in February. But in that miscarriage, I actually was able to, I bled for 5 weeks afterwards, which is not normal. And we did blood work, and strangely enough, everything was fine, except for I was anemic, which, you know, was shocking. Just kidding, it wasn't. And then we went and got an ultrasound. I finally got my doctor to you know, do a vaginal ultrasound on me. And they diagnosed me with a couple of issues that make it so that women don't get pregnant. And I didn't know I'd had them, but I'd had the symptoms of them for 14 years. And symptoms had actually started 18 years. They had used meds to even them out. And then I'd had them for the last 14 since my youngest child was born. And so it was interesting that by going on that larger dose, even though I had been taking it the whole time, it made a huge difference for me. And then since I got diagnosed with those 2 female issues, I've been continuing to do that large dose. And it's amazing how much, you know, I'm down to a 6-day with very light bleeding, which has been amazing, because before, you know, it was intensely heavy. And for days on end, I would bleed through everything. And so it's been really exciting just by adding a large dose of the Cell Defender, how different things will change. And so my favorite thing to do with people is to be like, you know, once in a while, go on a Marcy dose and see what happens, because you never know what's going to happen. It can't hurt you, but sure could help amazing things.
Thank you, Stephanie. Before we go to Dr. Cook, Bill Spence, you have a comment or a question? We'll give you a minute or so to go ahead. You got on mute, Bill. Thank you.
Yeah, I just have a comment. My good friend Faye from New Hampshire is here. She's my guest, and she has some type of viral, I think it's okay that I say this. She has some type of virus or viral condition on her face, and just trying to find out if the nano silver gel or spray would be beneficial.
Who would like to answer that? Dr. Nekita or David? Dr. David?
I can answer it. Yes, in this regard, the spray silver could be beneficial. Because the spray silver would literally just unhook or uncoat the envelope for the microorganisms to allow her body to fight the infection. So it would literally just help her immune system fight for itself. So spraying would be good, only especially as a test to make sure that it works. The spray is lighter than the gel, you know, so just to see if it works, spray would be, I think it would be a good solution.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nekita. Dr. David, we're going to let you, oh, wow, we're almost at the top of the hour. But Dr. David, we're going to let you give some closing, parting words for us, and then Chip, please.
Okay. I like quotes. And one of my favorites is, "That which works is infinitely more valuable than that which does not work." And the Avini products work. Tip.
Good, good.
Well, I'll jump in behind Dr. Cook on that one. You know, he was talking about his frustration in his practice, and he listed the 3 leading things, and he said in some cases they just weren't working. And you know, I have to respect a guy. There are certain, you know, practitioners that are making an entire career out of interventions that don't work, make a career out of losing. And to, you know, find something to be able to help those that you couldn't help is a big deal. And like he said, what he knew before, what he knows now, work together, and that's where the word integrative comes in. But the biggest thing I got from Dr. Cook tonight, and I'm sure Stephanie appreciates this a lot, is that he said not too long ago his mechanism of protecting himself was withdrawal. And you heard him tonight step forward alongside of Dr. Nekita and Stephanie to make our presentation, which was wonderful. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Chip. Thank you, everyone, for being with us tonight. It's a blessing to be here. We're grateful to Stephanie, Dr. Cook, and of course, Dr. Nekita. So I just want to wish you all the best to go out there and share Avini. Let's go out and help the world. Okay, that's our mission. As it's exciting because we're growing, but we're here every Thursday night. Feel free to invite people to Avini Vibes any Thursday night, 7:30 Eastern time. And this is recorded. Thank you to Carol Witt for always helping me in the tech side of it and being there as a support. Good night, everybody.
Christine.
What an
I
awesome call. Woo.
I just wanted to introduce you to David Frost, who's right here. Robert Frost, good grief. Sorry about that. He wrote the book Kinesiology, and he's here. Applied kinesiology, and he's brilliant and eats all the right stuff. And he's been on these before, and he's even met Chip. And so I just wanted to say hello. He's coming and going with a big family reunion in town. That's what's going on.
Gonna meet my unknown to me daughter.
He has
Oh, how excited.
Found me with TNA.
Can you believe?
Blessings to you.
From Woodstock, I believe it was.
Yes, my daughter was conceived the weekend of Woodstock.
Woodstock, New
51
York.
years ago.
I live very close to that.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah. So
Nice
Joyce,
to meet
let's get
y'all.
in touch, and we'll love to hear more of your story and appreciate it. Joyce, thank you for the intro, and again, thank you everyone tonight for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye,
everyone. Bye. I love y'all.
Bye,
See you
everyone.
soon.
Have a great day. Good evening.